वेदर्षयः समारभ्य वेदान्ताचार्या मध्यमाः योगीरां सुरत्कुमारपर्यन्तं वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् रत्नाकराधौतपतां हिमालयकिरीटिनीं ब्रह्मराजऋषिरत्नाढ्यां वन्दे भारतमातरम्. Salutations and adorations to all the great preceptors of the holy land of Bharatavarsha, right from the Vedic Rishis to the Vedanta Acharyas, to my Diksha Guru, Yogi Ram Surukman Maharaj of Tiruvannamalai. Salutations and adorations to our holy motherland Bharatavarsha, whose sacred crown is the Himalayas, whose feet are washed by three great oceans, and who is adorned with the jewels of Brahma Rishis and Raja Rishis. In the last few classes, we have been going through the Shad Darshanas, 6 systems of philosophy, as they are called: Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Sankhya, Yoga, Purvamimamsa and Uttaramimamsa. We had a glance of Nyaya and Vaisheshika theories, and we also had an outline study of the Sankhya philosophy. The fourth one, Yoga, is always associated with the Sankhya, though it is an independent scripture. The Yoga philosophy, it has its origin in the Rig Veda and in the Katha and Shvetasvatara Upanishads it is expounded. But a systematic form of philosophic treatise was given by Patanjali. Patanjali is supposed to be a great scholar and grammarian who lived in 150 BC. Maybe in Tamil Nadu there is a temple for Patanjali also, ashram for Patanjali also, and he is also the author of the Yoga Shastra. The Yoga Shastra tradition attributes the origin of yoga to Hiranyagarbha, an aspect of God himself, and it was first taught to Sanat Kumara and Jaigishavaya. But traditionally, the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, they are considered to be the authenticated text of yoga philosophy. The word yoga comes from the Sanskrit root yuja. Yuja means join. The individual self, it has to realize its ultimate identity with the supreme consciousness which is described as Brahman in the Vedas and the Upanishads. The individual self, Jiva, it has to unite with the Brahman, and that is considered to be moksha or kaivalya or the ultimate realization of the self. So the joining of the individual self with the supreme consciousness, that is yoga. Bhagavad Gita describes itself as Yoga Shastra. Bhagavad Gita and Yoga Shastri, Sri Krishna Arjuna Samvade, every chapter ends with that verse. So it addresses itself as a Yoga Shastra. And acquiring liberation or kaivalya is the ultimate goal of yoga. It is known as Paravidya. Unlike Sankhya philosophers, Patanjali accepts the existence of God, though Sankhya and Yoga are always combined together because most of the metaphysical positions they have taken together, concur with each other. Sankhya is known as Nirishwar Sankhya because it does not accept the existence of God, but it speaks about Purusha and Prakriti. Purusha, in the presence of Purusha, the Prakriti evolves, and ultimately the goal of the Jiva is to seek its identity with the Purusha. So though God as such, Ishvara is not accepted, it accepts Purusha. In case of Patanjali, he accepts God. Now this Yoga Shastra or the Kaivalya Shastra of Patanjali, it has 4 important sections, padas or chapters. The first one is Samadhi Pada. This Samadhi Pada discusses about the goal of the science. As we have already seen, the goal is attainment of the state of oneness, samadhi, equanimity of the mind is obtained, and ultimately the self merges into the Supreme Self. So that state, the merger of the self into the Supreme Self, is known as samadhi, and the Samadhi Pada describes vividly the goal of the Yoga Shastra. Now, having presented the goal before us, the Shastra has to explain the ways and means of achieving that ultimate reality. So, that path, sadhana we call it, that sadhana pada explains the various practices, means by which we have to practice the sadhana. And the next part of the Yoga Shastra is Vibhuti Pada. A person who practices yoga, it is said that in the process of yoga, he obtains certain powers, mental, physical, and higher intuitive powers he obtains. They are known as Vibhuti. Anima, Mahima, Garima, Lagima, Ashtasiddhis, they say, making the body weightless. The great yogis, they perform Vayustambam, Jalastambam. Jalastambam is floating in the water for hours together. In Srirangam temple, I had seen one yogi floating on the river, on the temple tank from morning 6 o'clock to evening 6 o'clock, like a just piece of wood, he was lying on the water, and at 6 o'clock in the evening he came out. I had also the opportunity to see my Shiksha Guru Swami Chinmayananda performing Jalastamba in Mukkamba, where Kaveri and Koradam unites. We had taken him for a pilgrimage to that Mukkamba. Suddenly he vanished. We didn't know where he had gone. But afterwards somebody pointed out his hand and said, "You see, there is one Swami floating on the water in the river." And with surprise, we looked at the Swami. It was Swami Chinmayananda. For about an hour, he was floating in the water. We were all afraid. Some of the people who were on the shore, they said, probably something has happened to the Swami, that's why his body is floating. I told them, don't talk nonsense. He is a great yogi, he knows. And after 1 hour, Swamiji swam and reached the shore. And he, with a hearty smile, he said, "Oh, you are all perturbed, terribly afraid. Then I said, I didn't get afraid, the other people got afraid because they did not know your prowess. I know who you are. So the Jalastambam is usually the yogis who practice controlling the breath, floating in the air, floating in the water, Anima, Mahima, Garima, making the body weightless. All these Ashtasiddhis we will see later. All these are explained in the Vibhuti Pada of the Yoga Shastra. Now, the last part of Dharma Shastra, this Yoga Darshana, is Kaivalya Pada. Kaivalya Pada explains in detail the ultimate realization, the Samadhi state. It speaks about Samprajñāna Samadhi, Asamprajñāna Samadhi, in Samadhi in which we are conscious of our own self, uniting with the ultimate self, and then there is the Asamprajñāna Samadhi where there is no consciousness at all, but only the existence, bliss, experience. So all these are explained in the Kaivalya Pada. For this Patanjali Yoga Shastra, there is a Vyasa Bhashya. Rishi Vedavyasa is supposed to have written a commentary, and it has got glosses also. The Patanjali Yoga Shastra is known as Astanga Yoga. It speaks about various limbs, 8 limbs. Ashtanga means 8 limbs that are important for the part of, on the part of the sadhaka. The 8 limbs they are Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dhyana, Dharana and Samadhi. Yama, they are codes of conduct. How we have to live the life of restrained contemplation, etc. These first 2, Yama and Niyama, they constitute the ethical discipline, the moral and ethical values that we have to practice in our day-to-day life. The yogi student of practicing Yama, he must have self-control, control of the body, speech and mind. Control of the body, it is, he should see that the body does not indulge in cheap pleasures, etc. He must restrain the body from such indulgences. And the other mental and other aspects of Yama, control of speech. A yogi, he must have absolute control over speech. He should not speak untruth. He should not make wild accusations, abuses, etc., abusive language, etc. He must have perfect control over his speech. And his mind must also be absolutely free from lust, anger, greed, all these vices. They must be kept aside. And these rules, they consist of 5 rules. Ahimsa, non-violence. A yogi must always be observing non-killing. That means he should not harm any other living being. The Shastras very emphatically declare that every living being is a manifestation of that ultimate reality, the supreme consciousness, whom you call as God. And observance of ahimsa We have seen in the Jain philosophy how the Jains observe ahimsa to the extreme limit. So ahimsa is non-killing, non-injury to other living beings. And satya, speaking truth, always speak the truth, because untruth harms others, and therefore we must practice truthfulness. Then asteya. Asteya, we have already seen in Jainism, not stealing, not acquiring another's property by cheating or all those things. And brahmacharya. Brahmacharya is absolute chastity, control of the senses. And then aparigraha. There should not be any greed, avoidance of greed. So these are the yamas. Ahimsa, satyam, asteyam, aparigraham, brahmacharyam. These are the 5 yamas that a student of yoga should practice. And what are the niyamas? Observance of the rules of conduct. Niyama means rule of conduct. What are those? Cleanliness or purity, which includes external cleaning through bath, pure diet, etc. It also involves internal cleaning. Internally, we must clean ourselves through suitable efforts. The first one is tapas, penance or austerity, constant practice, spiritual practice, that is tapas, which includes the presence of tolerance of cold and heat, etc. The tapas, and then swadhyaya. Swadhyaya always means the study of scriptures like the Vedas, Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, etc. So the sacred scriptures, they must be constantly studied by the practitioner of yoga. And the next important niyama is Ishvara Pranidhana. Ishvara Pranidhana means total surrender of oneself at the feet of the Lord or God. Total surrender to God. Yat karoshi yadasnati yajjuhoshi dadasi yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushva madarpanam. In the Bhagavad Gita we found Krishna telling Arjuna, whatever you do, whatever you eat, drink, or to offer as dana, all must be done as an offering unto him. So that is Ishvara Pranidhana, total surrender at the feet of the Lord, with the feeling that whatever happens, good or bad, it is all the will of the God, and accepting the will of the God in whatever way it comes, that is Ishvara Pranidhana. Okay. And the yama or restraints are the great universal vows, Mahavratas. They are not limited by caste, creed, community, or anything like that. Everyone must observe with meticulous care these 3. So this is yama and niyama. The third one is in the Astanga Yoga. The third step is asanas. Asana is a steady, comfortable posture for the purpose of meditation. The yogasanas, there are so many asanas: Vatsyasana, Kurmasana, Vadahasana, So many asanas. Padmasana is the most popular. Everybody sits in Padmasana for doing meditation. Padmasana is the lotus posture that is very popular. There are other asanas also. Shirshasana, standing on the head. All these. Surya Namaskara consists of various asanas put together. So these asanas, they are performed for strengthening the body, mind and intellect. It is not just physical exercise. It develops the concentration of the power of the mind, and it also invigorates the life energy in us. We will see afterwards that the Yoga Shastra speaks about various chakras in our body, activating those chakras through the asanas. That is the goal of the different postures. We will see about the chakras later. So after the asanas, the next important step in the Astanga Yoga is Pranayama. Prana means life breathe. We breathe in and we breathe out. That is the mark of our life. That we are living, existing, it is seen only through the breathing in and breathing out of the prana. If there is no prana, movement of prana, a man is considered to be dead. So pranayama is the control of the breathing in, sustaining the breath inside, and then leaving the breath out. There are 3 steps in the pranayama. Uragam, breathing in. When we breathe in through the nostrils, the oxygen, the air goes inside. In the practice of pranayama, once we breathe in, we have to retain the breath for a certain time and then slowly exhale, give out that breath. Whatever is taken is curtailed and then let out. In the usual Sandhya Vandana practice, we have the pranayama. We press the nostril, right hand nostril with the thumb, inhale the breath and then close the nose, retain it, and after some time, at the same speed in which we breathe in, we breathe out. So these 3 steps, Puraga, Kumbhaga and Rejaka, these constitute the pranayama practice. And the 5th step is pratyahara. The 5th pratyahara is developing an introvert vision. It is withdrawal of the senses from the objects. Always our eyes, our nose, our tongue, our skin, our mind always go out into the world of objects. We are interested in getting good smell, we are interested in eating sweet things, we are interested in hearing pleasant voice. Always our instruments of action and instruments of knowledge, they always go out into the world of objects. Now, pratyahara is withdrawal of the senses, the sensory organs. They are trained to ignore their running into the world of objects. So that is known as pratyahara. And then there are 3 important steps in the Astanga Yoga. The last 3 important steps, they are deep spiritual practices. The 6th in this yoga process, Astanga Yoga, is dharana, the seventh dhyana, and the eighth samadhi. These are the most important aspects of the Astanga Yoga. Now, what is dharana? Dharanam means steadying the mind. The mind is always running helter-skelter. Not even 1 minute you can control the mind. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna asks Yogastha Kuru Kaunteya, asked him to concentrate and control the mind. Chitta Vritti Nirodhanam. In Patanjali, his Yoga Shastra, in the very beginning, he says what is yoga. He defines yoga as Chitta Vritti Nirodhanam. Chitta Vritti means mental modulations, our thinking faculties, all these. Controlling them is yoga. Chitta Vritti Nirodhanam is yoga. So here, dharana, it gives us the pathway or the clue to control the mental modulations. How? Dharana. Fix the mind at one object. Concentrate on one thing. If you are sitting in the temple, sit before the deity, close your eyes, close your ears, all the senses are closed, and keep the figure of the deity in your mind. Go on thinking constantly, without break, about that one thing. Holding that figure in your mind. Dharana is holding it. When you hold one particular object or idol in your mind, all the rest are prevented from entering into your mind. So, that is dharana. Steadying the mind, concentrate in the simple object, an icon or sacred symbol. You can even have the symbol of Omkara, Pranava. Concentrate on the form of Om. In Vivekananda Rock Memorial, if you go to Kanyakumari, there is a meditation room, yoga room. There is no God, goddess or anything like that. They have only put up the symbol of Om. You go there, sit in front of that symbol and go on contemplating, meditating on that. So it can be an icon, it can be any form. Sometimes they put the swastika also. In some temples they have the swastika mark and concentrate on that. You can study the mind on any of these and always hold the form in between your eyebrows. Close your eyebrows and keep that form in between the eyebrows and meditate. That is dharana that you have to do. And dhyana, meditate on that. Dhyana, dharana. Dharana first and dhyana, contemplate, constantly meditating on that without break. Sometimes for hours together, some yogis practice dhyana. They sit still like a rock and go on meditating. That is dhyana. And once you practice this regularly, what happens? Your mind gets merged into that ultimate reality. Now God, in whichever form you are thinking, ultimately what happens? That form vanishes and what remains there is only consciousness. Bliss. Consciousness and bliss. Even the form vanishes. For some time there will be some form, some prajnana samadhi. In that samadhi you have a form. And when you go deep into the samadhi, even the form vanishes, asamprajnana samadhi, you attain that samadhi. So that is the adhyatma anubhava that Patanjali Yoga Sutra prescribes to us through these 8 limbs: yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dhyana, dharana and samadhi. Patanjali Yoga Shastra is sometimes called Raja Yoga and sometimes it is called Hatha Yoga. Raja Yoga means king of yogas. In the Bhagavad Gita, we found 4 important yogas: Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, then there is Karma Yoga, Yoga of action, and Raja Yoga. And about Raja Yoga, Bhagavad Gita says that it is the king of all the yogas, the supreme. Karma Yoga is to exhaust the existing vasanas in us. We practice Karma Yoga, action. All the actions are surrendered to the Lord, and therefore we are not incurring, whether good or bad, the result of the action is not affecting us. That is Karma Yoga. Bhakti Yoga, as I already said, Ishvara Pranidhana, total surrender to God. Ananya Chintayanto Mam Yajana Bhajibasdev, as Gita says, without thinking anything, only thinking of God, that is Bhakti Yoga. Then we have Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga is realizing the oneness of ourselves with the ultimate reality, the goal that you have to reach, the supreme wisdom. Sthitaprajna Darshana speaks about the man who attains that highest wisdom or knowledge. So obtaining that jnana, that is Jnana Yoga. Raja Yoga is the process of meditation, contemplation, etc., which ultimately leads to the supreme goal of Samadhi. So these are the various yogas. Sometimes they speak about Tantra Yoga. Tantra means Tanum Trayate iti Tantraha. That which protects the body. That is yoga. That yoga is not only protecting the body, but it invigorates the various powers that are concentrated in the physical body. According to the Tantra Shastra, it speaks about 6 chakras in our body. Our life force, it is in the Mooladhara chakra, the bottom of our spinal cord. The bottom of the spinal cord is Mooladhara. From there the energy rises. In Tirumula's Tirumandiram, it is a Yoga Shastra book in Tamil. Tirumular has very beautifully expounded it. You see, that life energy which is within us, if that life energy goes out into the womb of a mother and develops the fetus, a child is born. That very same life energy, instead of going out, instead of filtering away that energy, concentrate it and raise it in our physical body. There are 3 important nerves: Ida, Pingala and Sushumna. That is in the backbone. Ida and Pingala is on the left and right side, and Sushumna is in the middle. The power, life force, is taken upwards. Taking it upwards, the Yoga Shastra calls it Urdhva Retas. Urdhva means up. Retas means raising up. Raising up that life force, which if it goes into the womb of a mother, it becomes a child. The same life force, the semen, which is life force, instead of the semen going out of our physical body into the womb of a woman and becoming a child, you control that semen and rise it up through the Ida, Pingala, Sushumna, the spinal cord, From Mooladhara, it comes to that part of stomach, Swadhisthana, and from there it is further raised. It comes to Manipuraka, that is the navel part. And still, if you raise it, it comes to the level of the heart, Anahata Chakra, that is the heart. And from here, through constant meditation and concentration and this sadhana, you raise that energy further, it reaches the Ajna Chakra. Ajna Chakra is in between the eyebrows, where you always concentrate about your God, your deity, etc. And from the Ajna Chakra, the final march is to the Sahasra Sirsha, the top, medulla oblongata, to the brain. It is taken there, and there it explodes. It is a nuclear explosion taking place in the brain, and at that time you get tremendous energy, yogic powers, visions, everything you get. When you reach that state, the Ashtasiddhis, Anima, Mahima, Lagima, Garima, and then the intuitive knowledge. Sitting here, you can know what is happening in America, what is happening in London. You can know what your disciple is doing. Everything you can know through the intuitive process. The great Mahatmas, they have obtained that through this practice of intuition. In my own experience, once when I was caught in the river Ganga, I had gone to Allahabad to spread Ramanam. I went to the Rasula Ghat to take bath. There was a torrential flow that day. I didn't know. I was walked into the middle of the river and I was dragged away into the middle of the river. I was struggling and I called out to the name of my master, Yogi Ram Surat Kumar Jai Guru Raya, and then I sank. I just chanted Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram because I thought that is going to be my end, my samadhi in the water. I don't know what happened. Suddenly two boatmen came. Somewhere they came, appeared, they pulled me up, they brought me to the shore and left me there. I came to the place. My horse was on T.S. Sinha, the collector of Allahabad. I was staying with him, and I immediately wrote a letter to my master. You know what happened? The day I was struggling in that water, my son and daughter, they had gone to Tiruvannamalai to see my master, Yogi Ram Surat Kumar, and they were sitting before him. They reached there by 6 o'clock. He put a mat before them, asked them to sit there, and he sat on the opposite side with his fan and the begging bowl in his hand. He closed his eyes for some time. The children said, Bhagavan, we have come here to discuss about our examinations. Our examinations are going to start. We want your blessings, etc. But Bhagavan just showed them the hand. Keep quiet, keep quiet. So they kept quiet. About an hour had gone, 6 to 7, 6 to 6:30. Half an hour had gone. Suddenly he opened his eyes and asked, Vivekanandan, what is the time now? So my son looked into the watch and said, Bhagavan, it is 6:30. Again he closed his eyes and went into deep meditation. At 7 o'clock exactly, he opened his eyes, asked Nivedita, what's the time now? She said, Bhagavan, it is 7 o'clock. He immediately jumped up, went inside, brought a bunch of flowers, jasmine flowers tied. Somebody had offered it to him. He gave it to Nivedita and he said, Nivedita and Vivek, both of you must leave immediately to Madras. Take this and give it to your mother. Don't go anywhere else. Leave from here straight away. You go to the bus stand and leave for Madras. The children were amazed. He didn't allow them even to speak to him. Anyway, they have to obey. They took that flower, prostrated and came home. When they told, the mother was surprised. Why he should behave like this? What is happening? After 1 week, when I returned to Madras, they told me that such a thing happened. Bhagavan had behaved like that. I asked them what was the time, the date and time. When they said the time, it was 7 o'clock. I told them exactly at that time I was struggling in the Ganga. So, that is the power of a yogi, man who has reached to the highest state. When I called out his name, he was able to find it. Another experience I had, a child, Subira in South Africa, he was critically ill. He was admitted in the hospital. And the parents of the child, they were devotees of Satya Sai Baba. They used to come to Shirdi also and Whitefield. They wanted me to come and pray for him. So I went to the hospital. The hospital was a Christian hospital. They won't allow Kungum, Pipudi, etc. inside the ICU. So I just took my mala only. I gave the mala to the mother of the child and told her, Mother, you keep this mala in your hand and go on chanting Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Nobody can prevent you from doing that. My master will save you. You know, I uttered this and then I returned to the house of the host. The telephone bell was ringing in Durban, in Tongaat. The telephone bell in the house of my host, it was ringing. He lifted that phone. It was evening, nearing night. And he said, Swamiji, there is a call for you from Madras. Then I went and took the phone. One Mukilan from Madras, he was speaking. He said, Yogi Ramsurkumar Maharaj wants to know what is happening there. I was shocked. But I didn't tell him, I didn't explain things to him. I told him, you please tell Bhagavan that everything is going on well. The child is getting, which child, he asked, is there anything wrong with you? There is nothing wrong with me. One child is sick, I prayed for him, he is getting better. You just informed him. He came and Mugilan, yes, Sadhuji says that the child is okay, isn't it? He was surprised. How this man sitting in Tiruvannamalai know what is happening in Durban, in Tonga? That is the power of yogi. So, when the ultimate samadhi takes place in the Yoga Shastra, Yoga Samadhi, you get this power. Raja Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Tantra Yoga. Tantra Yoga is this development of Kundalini power, the power which rises up from Mooladhara to the Sahasra Shisha. It is known as Kundalini power. Sir John Woodruff, a very renowned scholar, European, he studied the Tantra Yoga, he mastered it, and it so happened, Woodruff was a judge in the Calcutta High Court. One day he was conducting a case. Some accused was brought there. He was accused of murdering somebody, committing a harsh crime. And the judge, after going through all the papers, witnesses and everything, he thought that he must give a punishment to the accused. And he was writing the final judgment to sentence the accused. Suddenly, a yogi, he walked into the courtroom. Everybody was surprised. The police people there and the lawyers, the party of the accused, the witness, everybody was surprised. Some yogi was marching into the courtroom and he said, "Oh judge, the judgment that you are writing is wrong," he shouted. The judge was shocked. Who this madman is, what he is talking about, my judgment. That accused, he is not the real one. Ask your police to find out the real culprit. Then the judge adjourned the case. He said, "Now I am not going to deliver the judgment. Further we will probe, we will find out who this man." He asked the Mahatma, "Do you know anything about the accused?" "No." "Do you know anything about the people murdered?" "No." "Do you know anything about the case?" "No." Do you belong to the place where it had occurred?" "No." "Then how do you say that it is wrong?" "My master within me tells that your judgment is wrong." The judge adjourned the case. Then afterwards he found out that the yogi was right. He went in search of that yogi, adopted him as his guru, and he found out that he was a great Tantra yogi, and he sat at the feet of the yogi, mastered Tantra Shastra. He gave up his position as judge. He retired. He completely gave up his job. He became a disciple of the yogi, and he has written the authoritative textbooks on Tantra, the Kundalini Yoga, the Mahanirvana Yoga, Yogi and Yoga, and all these serpent power. All these books, we have all got these books in our library, written by Sir John Woodrow. All these books are adorning our section, Tantra section in our library. He wrote all these books. He was an authority on the Mantra Shastra, Tantra Shastra, and how to obtain this power through mantra, meditation of Mantra Shastra is capsules to concentrate. Now I always chant Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram, Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. This Rama Nama mantra, it is known as Taraka mantra. According to Mantra Yoga, you just go on chanting the name. You need not do anything. My master always tells the devotees, do not bother about Yogasana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, all this. You go sit in a corner, close your eyes, go on chanting the name. That is sufficient. What you can attain through all these other steps, Astanga Yoga, you can obtain through Mantra Shastra. Mananat Trayate iti mantraha. It protects through just concentration, meditation. So Mantra Yoga is, and every mantra has got a potential. Ramanama mantra is known as Taraka mantra. In Vishnu Sahasranama, Mother, Divine Mother is asking Shiva, there are so many mantras, which one is the most potent? Shiva says, Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorme Sahasranama Tattuliyam. All the names of God are included in that one name, Ramanama. Ramanama Taraka mantra is the most. And like that, there are so many other mantras. Whichever mantra you choose, according to your taste, temperament, you but concentrate on that and meditate on that. That is Mantra Shastra. And Hatha Yoga. Hatha Yoga is control of physical body through exercises. We have seen Hatha Yogis. Recently we had the pictures of Hatha Yoga. I had the company of one Swamiji in our RSS Kendra Karyalaya. When I was in the Kendra Karyalaya of RSS, in my room there was a Swami who was nearing 100. He was 99 plus, crossed 99. Every time he came to see Guruji Golwalkar in the Kendra Karyalaya, he used to stay with me. We used to stay together in a hall like this. I will spread a mat and I will sleep on that. The Swamiji will spread his clothes by my side and he will be sleeping by. In the early morning when I opened my eyes, the first thing I will see was his legs. He will be doing Sirsasana. At the age of 99, he was doing for hours together, he will do the Sirsasana and all these physical exercises, Hatha Yoga, various forms. He will do Surya Namaskara and Bhujangasana, Shalabhasana, all these asanas he will perform. So all these asanas, according to Tantra Shastra, it energizes the chakras in your body by doing these various, especially Surya Namaskara. It energizes all the chakras in the physical body, and therefore we give importance to Surya Namaskara. Every day morning, looking at the sun, you perform the Surya Namaskara. There are 10 steps in doing that. By doing that, the energy, the life energy in you is invigorated and it rises up to the Sahasrara Sirsha. So that is Hatha Yoga. So through these we reach the ultimate goal. And I said the ultimate goal is Samprajnada Samadhi and Asamprajnada Samadhi. In Samprajnada Samadhi, we have a form in front of us and we are contemplating and we are merging into that form. We are aware of our getting merger into that. But after some time, even that awareness vanishes. What remains is only bliss. That is Samprajnada Samadhi. So these are all explained by Patanjali in his Yoga Shastra. various authors, there are so many commentaries on Yoga Shastra, and each one has given different types of descriptions. We need not go into all those glosses of Yoga Shastra. What is needed is Abhyasa and Vairagya. Abhyasa means constant, vigorous practice, non-stop practice. Every day in the early morning, that is called Brahma Muhurta, early morning 4:30 to morning 6 o'clock, that period is called as Brahma Muhurta. At that time, you practice your Yogasana for some time and do Pranayama. We usually do Sandhya Vandana in the early morning hours, and after the Sandhya Vandana, sit in one place, do all these concentration, meditation and mantra yoga. So this is rigorous practice. And the second thing that is prescribed is Vairagya. Vairagya means discipline, viraga, non-attachment from all other things. Total Vairagya. We are not attached to anything in this world. Our game, our goal is only to realize that oneness and withdrawing from all activities and not diverting our attention to it. That is absolute Vairagya. So Abhyasa and Vairagya, these three are needed. We will conclude with what Bhagavan Krishna has defined yoga. We saw that Patanjali had said yoga, chitta, vritti, nirodhana, control of mental modulation. In Gita, karmasu kaushala. Krishna says, yoga karmasu kaushala. Dexterity and skill in action. In whatever field you are working, suppose you are a teacher, or you are a doctor, or you are a mason, or you are working or an architect, or a sculptor, in whichever field of action, there should be perfectness, dexterity and skill. If you practice that, whatever be your profession, without unattached to the fruits of your action, you perform it with dexterity and skill. Yoga karma kaushanam, that is yoga. And another important aspect of yoga, Krishna has said, samatvam yoga uchyate. Yogi has an equanimity of mind. He is not perturbed by anything. He looks at all with same vision. Shuni chaiva swabhageta pandita samadarshinaha. The Gita it is, whether one is a dog or whether it is a dog eater, whoever it is, we look at all the people, pandita, even the learned man, we make no difference. All are equal. All beings are manifestations of that one ultimate reality. Looking at everything as the manifestation of that ultimate reality, samatvam, that is yoga uchyate. This is the message of Gita, and Krishna says, this is prajna darshana, tulyaninda sudirmavani santusto yenakena jit anikeda stiramatihi. He is not carried away by praise, he is not pulled down by condemnation. Mind is always calm and calm. Such a state of mind, you acquire it. Yogastak Guru Kaunteya, we have to acquire that power, that is Yoga Shastra in brief. Jai Shri Ram, Vande Mataram.